Is there fat wax on my camera lens? Perhaps. I think I'm hypomania into, I mean, for lack of a better word, into the PRI, into the PR, the Postural Restoration the Eye is Institute. I'm like, huh. And then I see this comment by a guy on one of the videos by this guy saying, well, the Chinese have known this for thousands of years or whatever. And I'm like, nah, of course they did. Then why didn't we? Anyway, we're on the postural restoration thing involving the molars of the back teeth and the visual of the eyes and the auditory and link sync with the heels of the feet and the hips and the yada, and how the left side of your diaphragm is not as big as your right, so we will start to breathe over to the right. Most people in them will naturally, after a while, twist that way because, that's what they do. We as us humans. Now, I don't know what the other people are that are kind of trying to keep this a secret from us. Who would do that? Certainly not other humans, right? No other humans would pretend this was a debilitating, just one of those diseases where you just cripple over eventually. Well, how come it's happening to a whole bunch of us? And then some people are able to straighten it out because they figured out that it's up here. It's nothing structurally, well, sometimes, I mean, oftentimes there are injuries involved that will push you that way even further. But for the most part, by and large, this can and does happen constantly all over the world without injuries. Because the human body is not symmetrical on both sides. It is not, it's close. It's supposed to be super, uber, duper close. Structural, I mean, as far as your skeleton, but I think what it is, the rest of the stuff on the inside is not. And the left brain and the right brain are doing different things on both sides, so that they're not a mirror image of one another as far as what's functioning on one side or the other, if that makes any sense. And I'm like, well, I'd never even considered that, really. But I've heard, we've all heard, well, the left brain runs the right side, and we don't know why that is, but it just is. It's these little nuggets of factoids, whether they're true or not. They sit in our minds in different places, or in our memories. I'm kind of overwhelmed with it, and Lenny and I want to, well, I did just started with the ozone, integrative dentist that was like, with Lenny, introduced him to the ozone about the infection and yada yada was going on. And then with me, was like, yo, your jaw is way over here. We're going to put a splint on and it's going to pull it back over and you're going to stop having all the BS running down your shoulder. And I'm going, so then I started looking into it. I'm like, oh my God, it's a whole body. It's all naturally connected from the floor up and yada yada. And I'm like, this ties in with the barefoot walking. And I'm overwhelmed. I've got so many people that are so crippled up from these types of things and the lies from the industry. Oh, you're just lazy. You didn't stretch enough. You didn't exercise right. No, these are brain-oriented, it's neurologically oriented patterns that can be broken. Neuroplasticity. Again, we just have to change the brain patterns. Introduce the position, or as close to, this is the gist of it, that you're supposed to be in. And, whatever the deal is, to relax in it, to allow the brain to realize, hey, man, it's okay to be in this position. You just keep repeating it. I guess this is a very rudimentary explanation until the brain decides, you know what? I think I can do that full time now. And then finally, you're out of that twisted contortion. That's a real rudimentary explanation. And, but it involves stimulating the body in ways that you wouldn't expect. Like I watched this guy say, okay, now watch me lay this lady on the table, and she cannot turn her left leg inward very far. But when I take her off the table and spin her to the left or right, whatever it was, to put input into her brain, later back down, boom, her leg suddenly, it wasn't a tightness in the muscle. It was the brain saying, don't do that. And then when he gave it a new signal, which you wouldn't expect, how he did it, and you're like, what? Ta-da! That's all I got to say. All right, YouTube. Let's have a great day, and let's stay sane amongst the insane.